Hello, man.
Hey, how you doing, dude?
Really good. Really good. It's cold here.
It's cold. Oh
Yeah.
man, it's super hot here, and I'm wearing a hoodie. I'm crazy.
Oh my god.
Dude, how's it going? Give me a little bit of a rundown about yourself, like what race you are, what your MMR is, and what you kind of want to focus on overall.
Uh, I like playing third. I'm like around Platinum League, like 2800, 2900
Yeah, sort of.
MMR,
Thank you for the
like
the
that.
host, dude. Much love.
Up and down.
Sure, sure.
More down than up. I struggle a lot with the long macro games because I suck at short-term memory and multitasking.
Okay.
But I tried my best. I really like the game. So we are a group of friends that play this game, and it's been like not that long since we are trying to like learn it properly or better.
Sure. Sounds good. Um, are you on the North American server right now on BattleNet?
I'm in Battle.net right now.
Okay,
Yeah.
so just so we can just get this, in a party and everything, just go ahead and top right click your portrait, which will load up your own personal profile, and then in there, on the middle left, hit ladders, and in the same spot you can then hit Grandmaster, and it'll take you to the Grandmaster list, and then tell me when you're there, so I'm not gonna be like throwing commands at you super fast.
Sorry, it's my profile, and then
And then on the middle left, you see a button that says ladders.
yeah.
Okay, click that, and then in the same spot, hit Grandmaster. It'll take you to the next tab.
Yes.
And then now do you
Here.
see, and now, okay, now scroll down. I'm like rank 80, 90, I'm rank 92. We're dropping. Go to 92, and then you can right click my name and send me a message, and we can start a party.
That's it.
Sick, dude. Okay. So now all we got to do is you can go into replays now in top middle, and then find whatever one you want to go into and hit watch with others, and we're good to go.
Well, the first one, it's a game that I played today.
Sure.
I have this discussion with with my friend always. I try to do macro game, to do like a hash first, like to practice it. But against Terran, I struggle a lot because if I don't go pull first and I take early link, I really struggle to go to a macro game because they get really annoying.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I can give you definitely some like pointers as to like general openers that would be good for you, but I mean, we could definitely see what's going on with your build. All right, before we start, go ahead and What's up?
Sorry.
Here, I think I'm gonna try to change the server really fast because. Hold on, one sec.
Here.
Okay, I just changed the server on Discord because it sounds, the quality is very choppy. Could you say something right now just to see if it sounds a lot better?
Should I start?
It's like worse. I changed the server to Brazil, but it's not really. I don't know. Maybe I'll try US West. Maybe that'll be better. Okay, I changed the server one more time, but the only reason why I'm changing it is because your mic is actually cutting out a lot.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you right now.
Okay.
Okay. Hopefully it remains all right. But yeah. I guess just really quickly right click my name in the lobby here, and then make me the lobby host.
Oh, okay.
And then, if I'm in the middle of talking or anything like that, you by all means feel free to. Or you gotta make me. Sorry, you made me party leader. You gotta make me a lobby host.
Oh, sorry.
That's all good. If I'm in the middle of talking at all and you want to ask a question, by all means feel free to interrupt me at any point. I do not mind. Just I want to make sure you get as much info out of this as you can, and be comfortable. And hopefully the mic stays good enough to where I can actually understand what you're saying.
Okay, I try to be clear.
Okay, because it's
I
like
will bring my mic
I'll
closer.
I'll give you an example. What your mic sounds like. It sounds like this. And going and then.
That's probably my internet connection being like
Yeah.
kind of annoying today.
It's all good. All right, so I'm gonna go and start it up. And yeah, again, feel free to ask any questions you have. It's all good.
Okay.
All right. Oh man, Zen. I vetoed Zen. I actually don't like this map.
I don't like it either.
Yeah, I played it all last season, and then I vetoed it this season because I just couldn't take any more Zen in my life. All right, so we'll talk about a few things. I mean, Overlord scouting, your build, stuff like this. What kind of a build are you generally going for as like a general opener in ZvT? Before we get underway.
I try here. I went hatch first into link speed,
Okay.
and then I try to vary it depending on what I see. But I really suck at scouting, so sometimes it's not that good.
Okay.
But I always tried against Terran. I try to go pull first, like 17 pull,
Yeah.
and then hatch to be annoying in the early game. But here I don't know. I try to do like a macro opening, but.
Okay. So I like what you're doing here. I was about this. Okay, so there's 2 SCVs here. I'm just gonna throw this out there. First things first. When your first SCV, when the first SCV was blocking your natural, I think it's a great idea to run past it and build a just go take your natural at your third base. It's totally fine. Because he has to for him to have an SCV here this fast, he has lost so much economy already as it is. Because this had to have been one of his first 12 SCVs. And then the fact that now you see 2 SCVs, this is huge. This is a bigger commitment than normal now. And at this point, I would say it's not going to be the worst thing in the world if you would actually go pool before hatchery, because double SCV is very awkward. But I wouldn't also mind if you went.
That's what I do here.
Okay.
When I see the other SCV following my drone to the third, I drop a pool.
Okay. And then also I wouldn't still mind though if you still expanded first, because even though there are 2 SCVs here, they're not actually building barracks. They're just running around your base, which is the Terran's losing so much mining time right now. This is a fucking ton of lost minerals for him. But in general, okay, if I'm gonna teach you a trick right here really fast, because I think it's about to happen. Okay, so you see how if you're looking at your third base right now, and the SCV is just like poking your drone with a drill repeatedly, there actually is a way you can still expand. And the way you can do that, without the SCV blocking you, is what I mean. And while he's still chasing you, all you have to do. This is all you have to do. Right now, you can see how your drone is a little bit north of the SCV, or whatever. It's totally fine. If you were to turn to the right now with your drone, just straight right, the SCV would catch you. Because it's on a move command on your drone. If the SCV pokes your drone, it loses all momentum and it completely stops to do a stab, and then it starts walking forward again. And if you start moving towards the expansion, right as you get poked by the SCV, it'll create a big enough gap between both of your workers to where you could now expand without him blocking you. So
I'm familiar. I heard you talking about that concept.
Yeah.
I think I need to practice it.
Sure.
I think I get it, but I'm not good.
That's okay. I would say it's definitely worth going for though, only because if you can get it down, your game is still going to be good. Because if you just turn this into a 1-base Zerg, for a while, and you wait till you have links to then take a natural just because an SCV's here, you're missing out on so much that you could have. And again, the reason why I think expanding is still good is because he's not actually building barracks right now.
Here I had a moment of decision, so I pulled my drone back. I don't know why.
Sure.
I dropped the ball.
That's my bad.
I don't know.
No, it's okay. Also, another thing too is, there was a moment here where you had 400 or almost 500 minerals when you were going to get ready to build that pool. And I know it's because you were getting distracted by the SCV chasing you. Just make sure, if you ever, always try to do this, okay? if you ever are trying to build a natural and you're being annoyed for whatever reason, like your opponent's like, I'm in your way, I'm blocking it with an engineering bay, or I'm chasing you, or anything like that. Every time you hit 350 minerals, always make a drone. So, because like you can still expand if you can get it down, but the point is don't just completely neglect your larva, and be like, well, fuck it, we're not going to use it. Because like right now you're at 3 larvae, and let's actually look at how long it lasts for. We'll look specifically. So you hit 3 larvae right now at 57 seconds, and let's see how long it goes for before you spin larva again from 57 seconds. Okay, you just spent it at 111. So, you know, that's a good chunk of time where you're just larva capped forever, and then like, you know, these are also drones that, you know, could have been made earlier, and you would have already had some of them mining, and so on and so on. I would just say, like, always keep tabs. Like, look at the top right at your money, because again, if there were actual buildings here, it would be more intimidating. But the fact that this guy has 2 SCVs here, his build is actually terrible right now because he's missing so much mining time. So it's something that's actually not that intimidating, even though it seems really weird because there's 2 SCVs here. Okay, I'm glad that you're still... I don't know if this is... Okay, it's going to be a drone scout. Never mind. I was going to be like, I'm glad that you're still going to expand. But it's... you're drone scouting it up. So you're actually... I would say, honestly, here's the thing. Because you're going for a gas pool now, because of his 2 SCVs, I would say you are now behind. And you're proxy hatching. And this is now super all-in. This game is now fully all-in. Oh. Yeah. Oh, you're crazy, bro. Okay. So stuff like this. If you're gonna all in him, you definitely don't want to build a spine. This is like counterintuitive to the all in. All it's gonna do is make your all in weaker and be later, because this is you're
like splitting the response is like half defensive, half offensive. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and I would say honestly, if your plan was gonna be to go for an all in. Like, okay, let me just say it like this. If I was sitting next to you, watching you play this game, and you were like, you know what, fuck it, I'm just going to take a gas and I'm going to proxy hatch, I'd be like, you probably shouldn't. And the reason why is because your gas went down so much later than a normal gas would have gone down to do an all-in. So already, your all-in is going to be so much weaker than it could be because it's so delayed. If you go for an all-in now. So, like, proxy hatching is a very ill-advised idea, only because, like, you're starting the hatchery, and look, he's already got a bunker halfway done. So, he's going to have, like, he'll probably have a factory done by the time your proxy hatch finishes. And it's only because your proxy hatch was late by, like, a full minute if you were actually going to proxy hatch. And your gas also was late by about, like, maybe 30 seconds. And every single second is so important here if you're going to do an all-in. So, my recommendation to you would have been... really just get a hatchery down, like a defensive macro hatch. Not in your main or anything like that. What I mean is, like, when you were trying to take your 3rd base, just send another drone out and take like your 4th base as your natural, or try to do the drone trick. Just expand at all costs and go from there, because that would have been your best odds, because you've already invested into it, because you've been pure mineral for so long. It would have been like your best odds of actually having good results there. Or go ahead.
I have a question.
Sure.
If I encounter like this double SCV blocking and stuff, it's advisable like to take the pool first and then expand.
I would honestly say you don't like. You literally could have expanded before the pool, and yeah. But if you do take a pool first and then expand, that's not the worst thing in the world, but. You should definitely not try to do a timing and attack him, because you are reacting to it later, and you're not like basically if you were opening up the game with like a build that was going to be aggressive, and by chance you saw him sending SCVs to your base and being annoying, and you're like, oh wow, okay, well he's doing some weird stuff and I'm going to do an all-in anyways, so this is going to be better for me now because his build's delayed. That'd be really good. But if you're doing a build where you want to expand and play standard, and then you have a delayed reaction to do an all-in now, it's going to be a lot less. The percentage chance of it working is going to go down a ton. So like instead of like, let's say like a 70% chance of it working, If you did like an opener for like straight up, I'm going to all in, and I usually win with this. Just because of how late it is, it goes from like 70 down to like 30. Like it still could work, but chances are that it's not going to. If you did an all in. And we haven't gotten to that point yet, but your build is just, it's like two things at once right now. You were trying to go for macro, now it's like a delayed all in. But it's also going back to like defensive macro because you built the spine.
Yeah, I understand. Well, my question about this game is like how to. I like try to do all this stuff and got me nowhere.
Yeah,
like, which would be like the. You told me that the best thing to do here would be like.
Just send another drone out.
Picking one of the things, like for example, taking the natural or the third.
Yeah,
like, expanding.
It would like try to take another base and make that now your new natural, and then if for whatever reason you're like, I cannot do this damn drone trick that ViBE keeps talking about, it doesn't make any sense. Like if you feel like that, you could literally just go back to your mineral line while the SCV is chasing your current drone, grab another drone and send it to another base. Like you could take like, do you see? I don't know if you see my ping right now, but you could take like take like that base right there with another like a second drone. Instead of just the one that was out there. And then, you could even take, like this map is a bit awkward with the bases get pretty far out, but you could then even take like maybe that base or something. Hopefully you would, all I gotta say though is like this drone trick is so easy if you just practice it a little bit, and it is so good because nobody ever is going to like block your drone physically doing it themselves. They're always going to just A-move your worker and then just let it be and forget about it. So you can like up to GM even. So you can always get this off. And again, all you got to do is you just got to move in a momentum in a way where you're turning past them as they poke you. That's it. So it's like you're both going up to straight up. He's following you and you cut hard right. He stabs you once because you cut hard right and then you've created enough distance. It's like a 90-degree turn. That's all you got to do.
I will try to practice it.
Yeah, because because again when the SCV pokes you, it completely stops, and then it starts moving again. And in StarCraft 2, there's two movement speeds. One is just like constant momentum, and one is the initial momentum. And then it's like like you start running, like you don't start full speed. You like have to build into it for a second.
Yeah. Like an acceleration.
Yeah, exactly. That was the word I was looking for here, and I couldn't figure it out. I was like, "What the fuck am I trying to say?" But yeah, it's it like that is what creates such a distance between the two workers, which allows you to easily take a building like a hatchery. All right, and anyways,
this game then start to spiral into something really awkward.
I what it looks like it's gonna be is it looks like you're gonna go proxy Ravagers.
Yeah, I start to like being annoying. Oh, I did like the proxy hatch just to annoy him. Like, well, I was kind of angry, so I said, okay, I will be annoying as well.
Sure.
I don't know the proper way to do a proxy hatch, like the proxy Ravager and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't really know how to do it.
Sure. Well, it's definitely, like I said before, it's super delayed. The thing about your hatchery right now too is, I would say at this point, with what you've seen, okay, so you've seen. I think this 2 SCV thing threw you off so hard this game because you're like, oh god, 2 SCVs are in my base. I don't know what's going on. He's building a bunker at your base, which is it's whatever. But the fact that right now you're making lings, you made a roach warren and you made a spine, and now you're making lings on top of that. I would say lings at this point in the game are completely worthless. And I'm gonna ask you a question really fast as to why that is, but I'll tell you right after if you don't get it right. But why, if I say lings are pointless right now in this game, why do you think that is?
Well, I found out in this game why I think the bunkers make them really useless. I think, and there's no like open spaces for me to attack with the lings.
Okay, that's part of it. I would say the reason why lings are pointless this game is because you have actually by now, before you made the lings, you had already scouted that he built a command center at his natural, which means you are not getting proxy all end, and the only time you would ever want to make lings. Before you even have speed, like would be either to deal with a Reaper, which is definitely not happening in this game, or it would be to deal with like if it was like proxy 3 or proxy 4x at your base or something like that. But because you've seen that there's a command center at his natural, he can't afford that. Like, this dude is actually playing defensive now. And he made a bunker to annoy you, but he's playing defensive.
Okay. So I should like back and start trying to catch up here.
Yeah, like you should have been, yeah, you should just be macroing.
With the bad decision already made to like go try to recover a bit in this game, what would be advisable at this stage?
I would say, I mean, you just made 12 lings, which is a lot. That's 6 drones right there. That could have been 6 drones. Best thing you can do would be take your natural at your natural, like where the spine crawler basically is. Take that as a base. Stop mining gas, and start making queens and drones nonstop. Like, you have so much gas right now, and you have all these useless units that aren't going to do anything for you really. Like, you honestly, you don't even need lings to deal with the bunker, and because the fact that you made a spine, that spine and queens could kill that bunker. You could just have queens kill the SCVs, bunker could smack the bunker down. Queens could walk over to those 2 marines at your third and kill those 2 marines as well, or shove them away. So this is a definite overreaction by you for like defense.
Yeah.
And then if you just, again, like, your opponent's build is not great either. Like, you can look at all his SCVs sitting at the natural. He's got 2 bunkers. He's made like a full wall between the mineral patches on both sides of his base and where the natural is. Like, his build is not super efficient. His build is also very messed up. And his main's not even fully saturated. Go ahead.
But it blocked me more than it blocked him.
Yeah, like, well, it's just you overreacted. Cause,
yeah, of course.
Yeah. Like, let's go back really fast and let's see when you actually found out he was expanding. You found out a long time ago.
Yeah, with the OB, I think.
Yep. Well, I mean, it's good that you did too, because like right now, okay, this is before you've even proxy hatched him. You now know, oh, okay, he's actually not all-inning at all. He's like, you should have been tipped off that he's not all-inning you, because the SCVs weren't actually building buildings in your base. Like, 2 SCVs standing in your natural, I'd be like, what the fuck is this guy doing? He's just wasting mining time, and he's not actually doing anything with, like, he's not all-inning me. He's not doing any proxy crap. And, like, the fact that I know for a fact he does not have, like, great saturation already, and the fact that 2 SCVs are already here blocking my base, that would make me feel totally fine. Because also now that he's making a command center, it further confirms there's no proxy racks. It's like, it's not like, oh my god, there's 4 proxy racks over here somewhere and I got to worry about that. It's physically impossible for him to afford that, because that would mean he would have just spent, like, you see a depot, you see a barracks, you see a command center, and if there were like proxy racks as well, let's say 4 proxy racks at your base, that would be like 1,300 minerals or so roughly. Just like built already on the map, and you like, if you look at your build, you have 100 in the bank. You've made a pool and a gas, and that you definitely do not have the equivalent of 1,300 minerals spent already. So like, it's physically impossible to have that much. So the intimidation factor for you should be non-existent, because you see that command center. That's his whole investment now.
Makes sense.
Mon Captain, thank you very much for the sub, dude. All right, we'll speed it up again going forward. But yeah, like, all these lings in the spine and stuff, it's just massive overreactions for sure.
Yeah.
All right, speed. All right, so this is where we kind of were a minute ago. All right, and then like the Roach Warren too. The Roach Warren would make more sense for like the Ravager proxy, but again, it's another one of those things where if you're not going to actually use the Roach Warren to, like, you know, make roaches as soon as it's done, it's just one of those things where it feels like it's a panic building, where, you know, you're like, I might, I might need it. I don't know. Okay, so here's what I think. This is honestly, okay, I'm gonna tell you something really fast. I think your biggest way to fix this, because I'm gonna like, this game already, I could harp on you for like 20 minutes about, okay, problem. But if I think if you just have a build that is solid, and you just do the build regardless of what your opponent's doing, like literally, you don't actually change it, you just do it. You will
struggle a little.
Yeah, I think you will win so much more. Because, again, like, all you have to know for scouting, this is all you should know for scouting. Did he expand? That's literally it. That like, and this goes all the way to like GM. Like obviously once you get GM, there's more evolutions to scouting and stuff like that. But just knowing that they expanded is enough to information for you to know, okay, well I can get away with like, you know, a lot of workers early game and stuff like that. Like you do not need defense nearly as hard or at all. Because all types of pressures and all-ins go fucking out the window if you see a natural. Because let me say it like this. If his natural is at all comparative to yours in terms of how fast, like, okay, I'm going to say it like this. This makes more sense. If you take a natural first, okay? So you go hatchery first. Then that's what you did want to go for. And then you look at his command center that's building at his natural when your overlord finally gets there. If his command center is at all similar to your hatchery, you know he went command center first. And if you know he went command center first, it is physically impossible for him to be doing any type of a proxy all-in really early. And it's also physically impossible for him to be doing any type of a tech all-in early. We're talking about like double gas openers. Because you cannot afford it. Because again, if you're comparing your build to his build, with your hatchery to his command center, if you would have gone for double gas right away, Roach Warren, and then you make a natural, he would have a natural done when yours like starts. You know what I mean? So then if you're and then it's the exact same thing where let's say you actually went for a natural and your natural is done. And then as you get to his base, when your natural is completed and you're like, you already have 6 drones on it, he just now started his natural. Oh, yeah. Then that would be cause for concern to be like, okay, well, why is his so fucking late compared to mine? Do you have double gas? Like then he could have double gas. Then he might be proxying something. Because there's a discrepancy there, right? Of time for that's like a full minute of difference in how early you guys both expanded. The Zerg expansion should always be a little faster, but because it's cheaper. It's 300 minerals compared to 400. But yeah, in general, it's never going to be like vastly different if you both do similar builds or you're both going for macro. Yeah, like your build right now, this build is incredibly inefficient, dude. Like, like there's a second gas going down right now. You only have 21 drones. And you already have 500 in the bank. This is like the only way this would make sense is if you just went for an all-in right now with like 7 Ravagers. Yeah. Do you actually use? I'm gonna ask you a question. Do you use build orders at all? Or is it?
I tried to.
Oh, go ahead.
I have like one, and I try to stick to it most of the time. It's like an. I try to do like something similar to the bronze to GM build, where I get link speed first to help me with some things, and then I go 18 pool. I go hatch first, 18 pool, 18 gas, 17 pool.
Okay.
Into link speed, and then I try to see what the opponent is doing. But I tend to like go into Roach, Hydra, into Brood Lords if I can. I really struggle with the transition between like 2-3 bases to 3-4 bases. I start to like struggle with the defense and the injects.
Yeah.
For example, one thing I wanted to ask you is about queen management. Sometimes I do less queens than I should, more queens and stuff. I don't know how to control them. Like, should I like put all the queens in the same control group or just the creep queens?
All right. I'll try to get both your questions done, and I have a suggestion as well. So your queens, I think what you should do is. You should just do any type of method that makes your life easy for going to your hatcheries, and do not control group your queens at hatcheries that are going to be injecting your bases. Then you can use control groups for the queens that are excessive, like creep spreading queens. Basically, they can also be used for defense. You can make them in like you can make your army in control 1, and you can make those queens in like control 2. And then what you can do is you can like double tap 2/2, and it camera shifts to your queens that are roaming. And you can make creep. You can do whatever you want with them. You can use them to defend, anything like that. But you do not. I would never say put every single queen that exists on the map in one control group, because if you ever tell your queens to attack an area, all of your injecting queens will go there as well, and then you'll stop injecting. So just I would say don't hockey injecting queens, or you could also do a method like this. Okay, this is a method. It's called the spacebar method. This is a method that
I use spacebar with my base camera, and I'm trying to use locations like recently. I've always done like the spacebar, and now I'm trying to like to fix my camera locations. But I set them, but I don't use them.
Sure. Well, I mean, if you want to use camera hotkeys, that's fine. That's what I use. It's better. It is better, but it does take a lot of practice to get used to. It'll just take time. But if you want to use and if you use camera hockey locations, you do not need to hockey your queens at all. But if you want to use like the spacebar spamming method, what you could do is you could have just injecting queens on one control group, and then creep starting queens on another. And you could make this control group like 6, okay? For the injecting queens, they could be on like 6. And you could only use it when you're ready to inject. So what you could do is you could hit spacebar once to center the camera on a hatchery, and then you hit 6, hold shift on your keyboard, you hit your inject hotkey, which is V, and then you just start spam clicking the screen in the very middle, and you hit spacebar a lot. And you do this for like 2 seconds, and you're done. And then you just do this method once every like 30 seconds. And then your queens will go a little hectic at some points in the game, but you're going to inject a lot either way. So it'll be fine for the most part. I mean, you could do that.
Oh, okay, I will practice that.
And then if you want to try camera hotkeys, just know that what I do is excuse me, sorry, I have like allergies. If you want to do camera hotkeys, what I do is I have 3 camera hotkeys, and I have like my main, my natural, and my third, like each have a camera hotkey bound to it, and I will literally have a queen sitting at each one, and I'll hit the one hotkey for the main, inject, hotkey for the natural, inject, hotkey for the third, inject, and then I'm done. And it takes me like 1 second to do that, and I just physically click, like I green box the queen, and the thing is I make the camera hotkeys lined up perfectly on every hatchery, so I don't have one where like the hatchery's in top right of the screen, and the next one hatchery's in bottom left, and the next one's hatchery's in top left.
Yeah.
Like it's always center.
I recently changed my bindings, like for the I use Alt to center in the unit, to center on selection, and then I use Alt 1, 2, 3 to set my cameras. But I still go to them with F1, F2, and F3, etc.
Okay.
But I set them up with Alt 1, 2, 3, and it's helping quite a bit.
So I would just say, like either method you want to do, just practice it, and they will both work for you. And just to give you a disclaimer here, I was just for the merit of how good they can be, with both versions of injecting, I used both versions of it while I was a pro gamer. Like I used the spamming fucking spacebar one for the first 1.5 years I was a pro gamer or so, like first 2 years, and then after that I went to camera hotkeys in like 2012. So I was literally able to compete at a pro level with both methods. So neither one's like it's just gonna be bad in like Diamond League or something like that. Like they could both take you to GM if you actually played long enough. And then okay, and then the other thing I was gonna say, like more of a suggestion. Okay, so I think honestly, dude, I'm not gonna lie. I think your biggest problem is yourself right now, and here's why. I think you're trying to scout a lot more, and you're trying to read into things a lot more than you should be. And I think 2 things are happening to you that are messing you up. Number 1 is I think your build yourself is not ingrained enough in you yet to where you can do it while thinking about something else, which happens to a lot of people. Because I think what's happening is you're looking at your opponent's build so fucking hard, and you're thinking about like, okay, you're like it's a hesitation followed by a reaction where you're like, okay, what do I want to do here? Proxy hatch. Okay, what do I want to do here? Okay, we'll make a spine, and it's just you're picking things as reactions to what you're scouting. Yeah, like it's reactions that I think are chaotic, because you're trying to make reactions based off of what you see. When if you just broke the game down a little easier, it would not be as chaotic. It's like again, something as simple as I was saying to you earlier, which is if he has a natural, all these things get ruled out. And then your build can be way more effective from the start of the game. Like you can actually get your economy up a lot more smoothly, and so on and so on. And then the other part of the suggestion is I think you should just, I'm not even kidding, even if you're getting all in, just do the same build. Like you will probably lose a couple times here and there, but here's the thing: if you just macro efficiently in Platinum League, your opponent could actually be all-inning you, and just because you macro efficiently, you'll still win. Even though you're the one macroing against an all-in. Go ahead.
That happened in 2 games before, 2 Terran games before, that I got a lean by trying to do a macro build, and I was like, I don't know, I was really awake that day, and I was better, and I got a lean, then I defended it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't happen all the time because I'm always like distracting.
Yeah.
I can get distracted really easy.
Yeah. Well, I think you're just emphasizing way too much of your gameplay on your scouting, and then you're not really sure how to read scouting as well, because you're making reads that are kind of chaotic. Like it's like for instance, like you made drones for your proxy hatch, and then you made a bunch of roaches, and then you're making spines for it, and you're chilling, and it's almost like a contain.
I control group, like I halkeyed like the different hatches. I tried to do that, and then I started like to selecting any hatch at any moment.
Yeah. It's just like it's overall just a bunch of chaos, and then the gas as well. Like the second gas starting in your main when you had like 500 already, and like if you look at your minerals, you have 60 minerals right now, but you have almost 600 gas. Like this is such it's not ideal. It only makes sense ever to go for gas heavy builds if you're going to all in, and you've definitely missed the window to all in already because this dude already has tanks. He's got, I mean, like both your builds are a bit weird, but we'll just talk about the game timer. You're at 7 minutes and 30 seconds, and at 7:30, your supply could be way bigger than it is right now.
Yeah.
So like if you actually were just gonna we'll just say this, okay? If you were just gonna go for roaches, which is all that's happened so far, I'm not even kidding, you could be maxed at like 750. Like that's assuming you have very, very, very good macro, but it is capable. Like that is what Zerg could do. So it's definitely like, and again, all these things that are happening, like the lings you made early, the spines you made early, the proxy hatch, the late natural, like the late hatcheries, the heavy gas. All these things are adding up and making your build go way slower than it needs to. So
yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, I think if we just give you a build, make sure you like have a build that's like, you know, current, and it's something you can grow with as a player. If you just do that build regardless of what your opponent does and just get that build down, I think that's going to serve so much better for you as like improving at StarCraft. Because I think your biggest problem here is you just don't have it. Like it's just chaotic.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to watch like another game.
Yeah.
It's more like standard to like ask you some questions about the macro. But here is like my chaotic reactions and stuff. But,
yeah, no, definitely.
I wanted to take another game more macro oriented, like to ask some questions, punctual questions.
Sure. I'll just leave this on ×4 for the rest of this game. Then we'll get through this one pretty quick, and I'll see your decisions you make. But like right now, for instance, you know, you're going into a lot of different variations of stuff with no economy. Like right now, you're making a spire, you're making a shitload of lings, and then now you're making drones, and you're nidusing him. Like. This game just feels like you're doing everything Zerg could do. It's just a little bit of everything. Yeah, and I really do think that the reason why it looks like this is because you see something and you react to it, and you see something and you react to it. But what's happening is you're making overreactions repeatedly, and it's just making your build slow down like crazy. Yeah, it's... and then you have Lings nidusing on the planetary. This game is wild, bro.
Yeah. I was talking to my friend while I was playing this game, anyway. And sure. He was watching. I was streaming it for him.
Okay. Well, yeah, that's another distraction for sure.
We had a couple of laps.
I know how distracting it is to talk to somebody while you're in the middle of playing the game, or talk in general. Yeah. But yeah, this game is. I again, the same word I keep using is this game is just chaotic. it's a little bit of a mess everywhere. And now there's like no production going on for you for like 30 seconds. And you have almost 4,000 minerals. Best thing you could do here, okay, at this stage where you're at now, I like that you're making a Greater Spire. It would just be, honestly, get Carapace on your Corruptors and go Broodlord Corruptor. Because this guy's going Widowmine Battlecruiser, and Widowmine Battlecruiser would lose to Carapace Corruptor. But it would be a heavy emphasis on the Corruptor. We're talking like 8 Broodlords and like 30 Corruptor. But again, you would need a good enough economy to afford that, and you only have 34 drones, and you've had like 30 to 40 drones the whole game.
Yeah. It's a chaotic game.
Yeah.
For me, mostly.
Alright, and then I imagine now what's going to happen is it's the economy thing. Even though you have a large bank, you don't have enough time anymore to make drones because your opponent's at that point where he just has a scary army. And so if you make drones, you're probably going to die because they'll just push you. And if you make army, you don't have enough drones to keep refilling your bank. So you'll never be able to keep up with the trades that are going to happen here. And you're dead. Yeah. So, again, yeah, just way too chaotic of a game. And I think the reason why is because I think you overreact to what you scout. And also, if you were talking to someone, that's even more reason.
You're the man. Cheers from Austria.
Yeah. I think the worst thing is my overreaction. You're right. Talking, yeah, it can hurt me. It hurts me a lot at this point. But I think I could be
deep and fast.
I could be more decisive. I should practice some stuff. Yeah, it makes sense.
All right, I made you leader again, so you can host another replay. And then after this replay, if it looks like inefficiency again, I think what I could do for you is I could just make you a build. That like you could just give me a unit composition that you're like, I like this. This is my standard. I like that, and I'll give you a build that'll coincide with that really well. Because yeah, like one of the biggest problems of lower level players, just anyone who's like struggling, is definitely your gas timings as well, man. So many people take way too much gas way too fast.
Well, I had that problem, and I tried to delay my gases until I have full saturation in my third. But sometimes, I don't know. I make bad decisions.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. And again, I think it's because you're overreacting to what you scout. Like, if you just like, I'm not even kidding. If you just ignored him, if you just scouted his base for the natural, and you were like, cool, and then you scout his base one more time at like 4 to like 4:30. And you go, are you just to know, are you going bio or mech? That's it. You don't give a shit about anything else.
Yeah.
That's all you got to know. That's all the information you need, because otherwise, if you're like looking at every little aspect, where you're like, okay, he built a missile turret. All right, okay, he built a barracks a little bit to the left of normally. Okay, now I'm gonna make some links and I'm gonna pressure. I think there's the gap in the wall, and then suddenly he fills in the gap with like a depot, and you're like, okay, well, he walled off, and then now I see a siege tank. Okay, I'm gonna go for a spire and go for some mutas now. Like, it's like all these like little reads where it's like shit just is getting
ViBE, where did you get that thermal hoodie?
like things are just turning into a mess because of you know. Of
can you give me a minute to fix my audio?
Yeah, go for it, dude. Take your time. Mon Capitan, thank you very much for the 100 bits, dude. Guys, my fucking allergies are crazy right now. Holy shit. You can buy this hoodie off of ViBE.com. No, I'm just kidding. That's another thing. Go to Amazon and type in Leif Nelson. Lief Nelson. And that'll take you to stuff like this. And you'll see, you know, stuff like this. And others. Alright, I'm gonna look at this a little bit.
And that should be better.
Nice.
Yeah, it's better.
Okay.
Well, this game I played against my friend Gaston, and we tried to practice macro games. So I wanted like to ask you if I'm doing some things correctly or I should change my.
Yeah, I'll definitely like. I'm definitely always looking for someone's macro, because 99% of people, and when I say 99, I do mean 100. I'm just being nice when I say 99. 100% of people, even in Diamond League, still mess it up. Yeah, it's just how it goes. It's fine. All it takes is practice to really like get it down. So
I don't know the result of the game at all.
Yeah.
I don't remember what happened here.
It's okay. So far your build's fine. Not bad yet. I mean, here's like one of the things. We'll see if you take your drones off gas, and if you don't take your drones off gas, there needs to be a reason why not. Because if there is no reason and you just accumulate a ton of gas, that's again something that's gonna screw you, and you're not taking off gas.
I try to do it sometimes, but I like do it late.
Sure. And right now also like you have enough for speed, and you're not starting speed. So if we talk about the trade-off of gas now, like the fact that you're not starting speed when you could have, it's now super delayed. Like you would have been basically you would have been better off now with your current build, with how delayed speed is, if you would have just delayed your gas even longer and went for a third base first. Just for the concept, you know what I mean? Like if you're gonna rush gas to get speed and it's gonna delay your mineral economy, what's the reason for that? And it was to get Zergling speed, but now it's been totally missed by almost double the duration here that it would have taken, because you're actually getting close to 200 gas now. So things like this are what really need to be like kept on top of, because now if your opponent does like adepts or something, like the whole I'm assuming the whole reason why you get Zergling speed really early against this is because now you're like, okay, well I can deal with adepts really easy. If a stalker comes across the map, it's gonna die. Like you have control. Yeah. You get map control, right? But yeah, well, I mean, we'll see where your build goes from here, right? But so far, it's becoming very inefficient already.
Well, pulling my drones out of gas, something I'm doing like recently. I'm not.
Sure.
I'm trying to do it like to get early link speed, but just now, not something I've been practicing a lot.
It's definitely something that you need to definitely focus on. I would say it's a priority. It's like priority number 1. Because mining a bunch of gas and getting a really fast layer, like your layer just finished at 4 minutes, and now let's watch this. Let's watch what you do with your layer, because I'm just gonna throw this out there.
I didn't even make my roach.
Yeah, like just looking at this build, I don't like a lot of people when I ask them, let's see what you do with the layer. They're like, okay, yeah, let's see what I do with the layer. And if they make like a spire or something, they're like, see, it's good, but it's. The build already, like you've put yourself into a layer low economy situation, and the only way a low economy layer ever makes sense is if you're doing something like a really fast Nidus all in. If you're going all in with it, because now your production of the future of this game is so delayed because you have such a weak drone count compared to what you could have, because you're mining so much gas so much faster than you should be. So it does things like it delays your third base, it delays your queens, it delays your creep spread, it delays how fast you can spend your larva. And like right now, if you look at, okay, your larva is getting spent relatively okay. Now you have a double Evo chamber and a roach warren. Yeah, this build is definitely looking a little fudged.
Here, I think I tried to drop the roach warren first, but I got like blocked by another drone. Maybe, I think it wasn't this game.
So like either way, even if the roach warren, if the roach warren was or wasn't blocked, this build is definitely inefficient though, just because of your gas. Yeah. I'll just say this too. The only time ever mining gas and then leaving on gas makes sense is if you're legit going for like the BDGM style, where it's just pure roaches and it has nothing to do with speedlings. Because then what happens? I don't know if you watched a lot of the BDGM openers, but with that, it is about taking a delayed gas. With that build, you go pool first, and then you go for a gas, and you go for gas at 20 supply, which basically it times it out to where you have 100 gas in the bank right as your queen's done, so you can start a layer right after your queen pops out of the hatchery, and then you start a roach warren, so you can go for roach speed when the layer's done. And if you skip the entire ling phase, it allows you to go into roaches faster, and you just make drones the whole time. So and then usually what you'll do is you'll kind of like make a pseudo wall in front of your natural, so you're safe against early pressures. That's generally how that one goes. But if you go for speedlings, taking crazy amounts of gas super fast is definitely really inefficient. Your second 2 gases are okay timed. Wait, what are you gonna say?
I'm taking notes.
Okay. Like your gases 2 and 3 are not bad. Those are timed okay. Your Evo chambers are timed way too early with a Ling build. Like your Evo chamber shouldn't even be started until you have 6 gases and you have like your tech, whatever tech it's going to be, like a hydrogen was what I would recommend probably. But now you're going for roaches. So this is what I would recommend, okay? You need to pick and choose. If you want to go for a Ling build, do like Ling Hydra, like Ling Bane Hydra, something like that. If you want to do a roach build, just do Beta build. I think going... Okay, so I will say what the advice I'm giving you applies to Platinum League, okay? It's going Ling into Roach is something that can totally happen at higher levels, but it's making like your build is just such a mess right now. If you just do Beta GM style, your build will be way more cleaned up, and if you do like Ling Bane Hydra or something like that, with proper gas timings, your build will be way more cleaned up. The build is just chaotic, again, a bit.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm questioning if I want to give you that advice right there. Like you still against Protoss specifically, I do think you could still go Ling into Roach, but I just feel like you shouldn't even go Lings because you didn't even do anything with them. Like it's for instance, okay, let me just look at this. Look at this with me for a second, if you will. You got Speedlings. What did they do?
Nothing.
Yeah, exactly, right? So if you go, like, here's the thing. If you go for Speedlings, something needs to happen with them. And what needs to happen with Speedlings is it's 2 stages. Number 1 is you defend your base versus pressure. So if adepts come to your base, whatever, you can kill them. That's great. That's awesome. But then you need to scout with your Speedlings, and you need to then do something like deny or at the very least delay his 3rd base. But none of this happened, and you got a fast layer, you still got Speedlings, but then you made a few Speedlings as well, but then you just went straight Roaches. So this is one of those moments where if you want to play passive Roaches, that's totally fine, but a Beta GM style would be way more up your alley. It would just be like 3 times stronger than what you're doing.
Yeah. Just like to choose between Speedlings or Roaches and stick with what I choose.
Yeah, like you have to have. So every decision in StarCraft has a purpose, and if you make a decision in StarCraft for early game, and then you don't use the purpose of it, it makes no sense. Like, and for instance, one of these things are if you prioritize gas and you prioritize a layer, and like the last game when you prioritized a fuckload of gas on like 1 base for a very long time, if you don't do anything with that gas, your build is super inefficient. And there needs to be a result of every decision you're making early game. Decisions later on throughout the game don't matter as much because they're not as crucial. That's not like okay. If you're in the developing stages of StarCraft, it's critical like the decisions you make and how you use them. If you make a decision to be aggressive, but then you don't be aggressive early game and you sacrifice economy for that and you sit there, like if you set your economy up to be aggressive because you make a bunch of units and you don't make drones, but then you sit there with your units, your build's just going to be super far behind. Versus if you make a bunch of drones and then let's say making drones is almost never a bad idea because like if you make a bunch of drones and you mine a lot of resources, that's never going to be like, well, what are you going to do with all this money, dude? Like that's what you definitely want to be going for. That's like the goal here. You want to make the money so you can use more of it later. But you just got to be really careful about when you want to switch gears into the unit production and into heavy gas production earlier on, because if you're not all-inning them or setting up some type of an attack, it makes no sense. It just puts you behind macro-wise every time. So, but another way I'll say this is if you ever watch a pro gamer, they will never make units and then just sit on them. They will always have a purpose for their units. If they choose to make units, it will be because they either have one, they know they need them to defend, or number 2, they're going to set up a timing attack. One of the 2 is always going to happen. Now, one of those 2 things is harder to understand. It's knowing when you need to make units to defend. That requires you to understand an in-depth level of how to scout, which is something that I think that you should learn over time. But in terms of somebody learning StarCraft, learning how to read somebody else's build should come after you understand how to create your own build. And right now, I feel like your build has a bunch of problems in it, so your build is actually being created poorly. So I think the goal you should go with from here is you should really fine-tune your own build regardless of what your opponent does. And once you have that down, then start worrying about what your opponent does more. Because your build right now is you have to understand the concepts of like economy, and like if you're going to expand, you're going to macro, minerals are your priority. Because gas does literally nothing for you in terms of macro. There's not a single thing you need gas for macro. Because queens are minerals, hatcheries are minerals, overlords are minerals, drones are minerals. Yeah. Like, it's all minerals. And then creep spread is energy. It doesn't cost anything. I guess you could say it costs queens. But every macro element of Zerg is minerals. The only thing that costs gas is unit, like military tech, and like units themselves. So tech and units. So you don't want to be investing into gas until you know you need it. And there's way too much gas emphasis in your games. For the openers, from the last 2 games we saw. And it definitely slows down your minerals, like pretty hard. Because you're only working with like 25 drones at that point. And that's a big investment to leave them on gas. And now, like, okay, yeah. Like, this game is super fancy. You're going for multi-prong roaches. This is, like, the game is... I feel like you're just... I feel like you're basically... Okay, let me say it like this. This will be kind of funny, and I think it makes sense. Do you know Jenga? Do you know the game of Jenga?
Yeah.
Okay, so imagine a Jenga tower that is like... It's like all the blocks are there, and it's just like a full tower, and you're good to go, okay? And then every time you learn another aspect of StarCraft, you just add blocks to the top of it, but it's super stable, and it's not going to fall over. What you're doing with the way you're playing StarCraft, I feel like, is you have a tower of Jenga, and then somebody took out like 6 blocks from the bottom of the foundation of the game, and then you're just adding more to the top. And your tower is like super wobbly because your macro fundamentals here are a bit fucking off, which is your fundamental gameplay, and you're adding on like multi-prong attacks and like intense scouting, and now I'm gonna do these weird fucking like tech transitions with like your Nidus's last game and stuff like that. Like it's like super technical at the top, and it's super flawed at the basic fundamentals of the game.
Yeah, I don't have like the infrastructure like to hold.
Exactly. Everything. Yeah. Like if you just focused on the fundamental, easy peasy gameplay, it would make everything else better for you. So like you're like a wobbly tower right now that needs to just be kind of like fortified at the bottom, which just it's not that hard either. All you got to do is get a solid fundamental opening of like a build, and then suddenly,
like focus on one.
Yeah, like your build. Like if you just get a build that you like, open up in a way that makes sense. Where it's like the first 6 minutes of the game are going to be really solid because your build is good. Every minute after that is going to be like, wow, this game is so easy now. It's just going to feel like the game is easy as shit, and you're going to get promoted, like, to diamond and whatever, and the game will get a lot more basic for you, basically.
Yeah.
Because what's happening right now is you're making the game like you basically you don't have enough supply. I'm just going to say this right now. You do not have enough supply to multi-prong because you were close to Protoss in supply when you attempted it. And what happened was you got shut down on both sides and you threw away units, and now you're trailing in supply the rest of the time. And you're also, and here's the thing too, not only are you trailing in supply because of the fact that, you threw units away, but you also are trying to multi-prong without macroing, and you have almost 5,000 minerals and 2,500 gas in the bank because you focused on multi-prong attacks, which are fancy as fuck, and that's that Jenga tower again that we're talking about, where your fundamental macro is super flawed.
I even have some drones wandering around here.
Yeah, like they're chilling, they're having a powwow.
We have to work.
Yeah, right. And then the next thing too that's happening now for you is your opponent has a very strong, diverse composition now. He's got a bunch of Archons, he's got a bunch of Immortals. and so on and so on. Those are units that take a long time to build in Templar, and they're expensive as hell. And he, you know, he has max of them now. He's maxed out, and you are still on basically just roaches, which means even if you're at 200 supply versus 200 supply, you're going to get steamrolled, because the only way roaches, pure roaches, ever beats Archon Immortal is if it's like a big supply discrepancy where the roaches have way more. Like if you were at 200 and he was only at 130, that would be like a somewhat fair fight. And then now if he's at 200 and you're... The only way you would have a fair fight if he was at 200 supply is if you could somehow get to like 300 supply of roaches.
Yeah.
Which is... It's impossible. So like your tech needs to be at this point a bit better now. And it's again, it's because you're kind of neglecting the macro elements of everything. So we're gonna kind of speed this up. And the reason why is because I'm gonna tell you right now, if I was watching this game, if I was like a coach sitting there watching both of you play, I would have right now I would declare you as dead already. You've already lost the game. Yeah. And it's because you've let the Protoss get to a point that you can no longer handle. So a bunch of drones are dying. He lost some units, but he really did a lot of damage to you in the process. And now production-wise, your drone count has been just decimated. He's got 84 probes. You have 43 drones, and you're going back into making units again. And you do have a lot of minerals still. So, I mean, you could recover. You could try to recover, but if you go straight into units now, every single time you make a unit before making a drone to fix what just got lost or what just got killed, you're forcing yourself into more of an all-in situation now. Every time you make a unit, and you're making nothing but hydras now again. So you're kind of all in now because you're going to, and now you're making drones. So like, that's one of the things again, where it's, you have to pick and choose what's important here. And if you're going to make drones, you need to make those things fucking immediately. The second you realize you're going to kill the army in your base, make drones. But if you just make, as soon as the fight's over, or as soon as you know you're going to win the fight with what you currently have, if you just start making units, and then 2 minutes later, you make drones, you're digging a hole that you're just going to sit in for a long time, basically. Like, you're just always going to be behind. Because your opponent has to recover if you do kill his army, too. Okay, but you did, okay, so you did switch into broods. Your opponent did not, I will say, your opponent did not macro as fast as he could have either, because he fucking crippled you. And if he was remaxing quickly and he was constantly pressuring all of your bases, he probably could have straight up killed you just now. But he did give you like almost 3 minutes after attacking you to build a new army. So you actually are back in the game again. And if he doesn't, and he is building Ares Toss now, though, he is going Sky Toss, so you're once again kind of screwed. And the reason why this is a problem is because his economy is better than yours, so he can make tech transitions, and you can't really afford it like he can. Even though you have a big bank, you cannot, you do not have the same amount of income that he does, so you'll never be able to afford as much transition stuff as he can. Which is why you really always want to fix your economy if the game is like, you know, still early stages. The only time I would ever say it makes sense to not go back to a good drone count of like 80-ish would be if the map was mostly mined out. And you're like, all I can do is mine 2 bases. Like if I make a bunch of drones, they're just oversaturated. And it's like a 40-minute game or 35 minutes or something.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to go to the next fight. Let's see what happens. There's a lot of passiveness going on here. Okay, the fight's happening now. But he has Sky Toss. This is scary as hell for you. He didn't actually, okay, but he did not actually kill your Hydras with his, like he microed that poorly, I would say. He didn't do anything about your Hydras with his AoE. Colossus were killing Broodlings, and he didn't have any Storm there. So your Hydras are actually killing his army now. So, I mean, what you should be doing now is you should be applying pressure constantly. You should be crippling his expansions as much as you can. And then what happens right now, where your drones just got wiped out again at your like one of your third bases or whatever.
Yeah.
Remake drones. You have map control. You're doing damage here. Remake drones. And here's a tip as well. I got a tip for you. Do not ever split your army like that, especially for now in Platinum League. Do not ever split your army apart unless it's Zerglings. I would say that the only unit I would say is acceptable to split off by itself and go to like another base to kill economy. Send like 30 Zerglings to an area and go kill an economy over there. But if it's anything else, Hydra, Lurker, Broodlord, whatever, keep it together. Because all that's going to happen is you actually just had the advantage a second ago. You really did. And now you're throwing it away a little bit because you're losing a bunch of Hydras all over the place because you're splitting them apart. And I would say you're starting to throw your army away more than you should, should be. Okay, I'm gonna pause it one more time and just say this. I have to say this because I want to make sure you really know this. Because so many people do this. I really do think that you're playing the game also more technical than needs to be played. What I feel like I'm watching is I feel like I'm watching a platinum player try to play at a master's level. And if you just made the game super basic where you microed less and you macroed more, you would win so much more.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. It looks like you are gonna kill him though. Kinda. It's kind of close though.
Yeah, I think I lose this one. I never scouted this base.
And here's the reason too why you might lose. It's because you're going all in. You've taken damage. And like you have map control. And again, that's when like 2 minutes ago when I was like, you should totally be you just won that fight. Like keep your army together, kill expansions, but remake your drones. And that way you can then remake an army again and again and again and again after that. If you might lose map control 3 minutes later, you can rebuild an army again right away. And you cripple his economy when yours is now really strong. But because all that's happening is you're depleting your bank that's been sitting there forever into units, as you just took a bunch of economy damage yourself and not replacing economy, you're never going to get economy back. And you're like, if this army dies now once, you lose.
Yeah. Yeah, I put myself into an all-in situation.
Yeah.
Well, that's one of the pointers I had like noted to ask you is when to redrawn when I lose my drones. But yeah, you just explained.
Yeah, if you kill his army and if you just know you're gonna kill enough of him for him to back off and go back to his base, that's a drone wave.
Yeah.
Because all it takes is one inject, which is 30 seconds. It's just 30 seconds, and there's a drone wave in your base. And he gave you like 3 minutes before you guys, and you actually were the one who initiated a fight, not him. After he fucked your base up, like 3 minutes later, your broodlords were there attacking him. So if you spend 30 seconds making like 40 drones off of like 6 hatcheries, you're fixed and you're good to go with a great economy from then on. All right, I'm gonna speed this up really fast though, because I'll give you an example game and then we'll kind of call it. I think the game is over now though, just because you have no mining. Yeah, you're dead. All right, so I'm gonna give you a build. I'm gonna ask you a question and you tell me what you prefer. Okay, I'm gonna leave it open to you. Do you want a Speedling opener build or do you want a Roach build? And but just know, if you pick Speedlings, you should use Speedlings for the majority of it. Like you should be doing run bys and things like this. I think this is way more technical, but I think you could eventually get into it like later on. Like it's something you can grow into basically. And if you choose Roach style, I think you should just do beta GM style, which is going to be easier to absorb first, and it'll make your games feel a lot more solid right away. And yeah, it'll be fine. It's just Roaches.
Yeah, it makes sense. I've been trying to use more links lately because I think that I don't know. I really like them. I'm really bad at using them.
Sure.
And roaches are like more solid, as you said.
Yeah. They definitely are.
I really practice the doing link speed open.
Okay, so you want to go links?
Yeah.
All right. I will. You have to be active, okay? And just do this build as best you can. I just made a game, by the way. You just hit accept whenever you can. Just do this build as best you can, and I'm not even kidding, dude. Do not deviate from this build, no matter what you see. Just do it every single time. Practice doing this repeatedly.
Good.
Because if you scout and deviate, scout and deviate, scout and deviate, start making weird choices with your gas and shit, you're going to have a bad day. Like, you're gonna constantly be like, well, I just don't have enough. Like, I have 40 drones again. It's gonna be rough. And then yeah, just save this replay, and I'll take you to max basically, and we'll do Ling into Roach. I will do Ling into Roach, but I'll show you what you should be doing with your Lings early game. And then if you have any questions during this as well, you know, by all means, feel free to ask.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna be taking our gas first, because again we're going for a speedling build, and we're gonna take drones off gas when we hit 100. It's very important. That is like one of the most important aspects of this build, if you do this. And then we'll be taking our third pretty fast.
Oh, that's something I've been trying to practice, but sometimes I struggle with the mineral income for taking the early third.
So, like, check this out. Watch this game. So what we're going to do is we're going to prioritize queens first, and then we're going to be taking our third around 30 supply. Because if we take drones off the gas at 100, or like 90 to 100, you should have enough money while spinning your larva at 30 supply. And that's a very solid third base timing. Like, it's a well-timed third base. And against Protoss, you don't need to make Lings this fast. Unless you were getting proxy gated. So against Terran, I would say you need to make 4 Lings like right now. But against Protoss, they cannot make an Adept off of the gateway. They have to make an Adept off of the Cyber Core, which is delayed. So you could get more drones out than you could against Terran. Like, you can drone all the way to 30, take a drone, send it to your third, and then start making a couple Lings. So you can see my larva is pretty much... I have 2 larvae now. That's a brand new larva, but we're taking expansion at 30. And I'm going to now make like 6 Lings to deal with an Adept if it were to come across the map. We made 1 creep tumor going from my natural to my third to accelerate creep spread there. And we made another queen in my natural. And now we're going to go back to droning and overlording.
And what's a good supply for the early overlords? I try to do like 30 and 38. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine. Like, Overlord doesn't have to be perfect every time. It really doesn't. Just as long as you're not capping. Just try to always keep yourself like a 10 supply cushion. So what I did there is I did a 19 Overlord, then I did a then the natural finish. The natural finishes with the Overlord as well, and I made a 34 Overlord. And then I started another, and now I'm starting an Overlord every like 8 supply or so. Like, that I'm spending into. Again, it does not have to be perfect. Just give yourself always like roughly like a 10 supply cushion. And now you can see my natural is fully saturated, so I'm going to send 2 drones back to my natural. Or, sorry, back to the gas in my main. Okay. So natural fully saturated. Then I take 2 drones, go back to the gas. And now I start a layer. So like your layer was done right now at 4 minutes in your game, and I just started mine. And I have speedlings. Now our third base is being a little saturated. We're going to take another little round of lings in production. We're going to make like maybe another like 10 lings. Then we're not going to make like 40 lings. We're just going to make like 10. And once we make these lings, we're going to go back to droning again. And these lings we just made can now, if we're not being all-in or attacked heavily, we can go deny the Protoss's third base. Because this is right around the time the Protoss wants to take a third base. So we made extra lings when our third base had like half saturation on it. And now we can go ahead and now that our lings are going out and we're making some drones again, we can make drones one more time. And we would be over here being like, fuck your third, I got your third. Like I'm just killing a probe, killing a nexus, whatever, being super annoying. We can start roach speed. And we can start all of our gases now because our drone count is just about done. So now just saturate all said gas that we have as it finishes. Take a fourth base. Make one more round of drones. And again, the lings are here, which are distracting the shit out of him. This is what the goal should be. Which is why it's okay that we're not making roaches like crazy right now. This is why this build's a bit advanced, because you have to multitask the lings a little bit. And then we would, let's just say we're going to lose the lings now. They're all going to die, whatever, we don't care. We have saturated our bases fully so fucking fast by 5 minutes and 40 seconds that now we can go back into roaches. And we have okay, our crew start's okay. We can now we can go into roaches. So we were able to like stall out his economy a little bit with the lings. We were able to be safe with the lings early game against any type of weird pressures. And now we have the ability to go roaches. And we can, now that we're going roaches and we have a fourth base that's done, we can start like an Evo chamber and a Hydra den. And we make enough roaches to feel safe here. Because again, we're not all-inning. The goal is to macro, right? We just made like 16 roaches. And now we're gonna go back into droning. Because that is a good number of roaches, definitely to I would say make us feel safe. We could also turn some of them into Ravagers if we needed to. But we're droning again. As we are going to start, and then after we're done droning, we can start going into like Hydras and stuff like that. And
so I used the lings early, and then I start making roaches.
Yes.
When the So okay.
Yeah.
And after that, I try to saturate my fourth and take another base, right?
Yep. And then we're gonna take a fifth base, exactly. Because look at our main base. Our main base is starting to mine out, so we want to start another base again. And then now we're at 88 drones. That's like
a fifth base is really late because I like to I tend to wait for the saturation in the fourth to be complete.
At that point, you don't need to because you have so much money already from your other bases. You can see my money is ramping up very fast, so we can easily afford it, making it.
Use like one of the spare drones from the main. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, well, you can even just rip a drone off your fourth while it's being saturated as well.
Yeah, but I don't have to worry to have full saturation on the fourth to take the fifth.
No, you don't. You can make it before full saturation.
I just do it when I have the money.
Yeah. You'll definitely have the money, guaranteed. I guarantee you'll have the money. And now we're going into Roach Hydra. And remember how I was saying how you were doing like multi-prong attacks? You were doing those attacks at like 9 minutes, and you were at 170 supply. With just roaches. This game we have roach. We did a speedling attack already this game, and we've gone roach hydra, and we're maxed out. We're going to be maxing out around like 820. So you were at like 170 supply at 9 minutes. We're at maxed out at 820, which is it's fucking insane. Like it's a big discrepancy there. And also, the big thing is we have tech with our max. It's not just roaches. We have like 40 hydras probably, or like 35 hydras. And then we also now have a Greater Spire, or we can have a Greater Spire starting here pretty soon, so we could go into Broods. You could go back into, like, get one level of range weapons, and you could go, like, back into melee after this. Because if you're going to go Broodlord now, melee is actually better, I would say, because it complements Zerglings and Broodlords together. And if you're going to go Corruptor instead of Hydra for air, you don't need the Hydras anymore. You can get like Adrenal Glands in your spawning pool. You can get Greater Spire, etc., etc., etc. And then you can just attack with this army. Whatever. You don't even need to literally micro it. Obviously, other Protoss are going to put up more fight than this, but the supply is huge right now. It is fucking massive. All you got to do at this stage of the game is just literally make sure your creep still flows, your injects still flow. So you can see my larva right now that's sitting there. I don't have just like 12 larvae sitting there. I have a shitload. So I can always remax, 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 remax. It's not just going to be like, oh, I only have... it's like I'll have like 30 to 40 larvae sitting there. And it's going to keep going up because I'm going to keep expanding. And now my natural's going to start mining out soon. So I could take another base. Again. And start my 6th base. And the goal should be keeping your economy looking good the whole time, keeping it flowing. So like I'm fixing my main and my natural right now, and now those economies are both good. My 3rd's still good, 4th's still good, 5th is good. And I'm doing this all of 84 drones currently. And now I have a Greater Spire, so I can go into broods or whatever I want to do. So if you play it like that, like just use that as a reference and play it like that. And that's gonna definitely make your life a lot easier.
The replay of this game gets automatically saved, or
you should title it. It won't be titled. It'll just be like some weird name.
Yeah. I have to change the name.
Yeah. It's yeah. And then just rename it so you have it, and then use that as a reference. So if you ever like, okay, where am I going wrong? That's your reference right there. That's what you should be trying to do.
That looks really solid.
Yeah, no, it's all again. It's all because there's no inefficiencies in the build. There's not a bunch of gas that we don't need at certain points. Because here's the thing about gas. This is the thing I'll leave you with, and then we'll wrap it up. The more gas you mine early game, the more it makes you feel like you have to spend it. And when you spend it, it not only is your minerals being tied up because you're not mining as much because now you're mining gas, but to spend your gas, you have to also spend minerals. There's nothing in StarCraft 2 that only costs gas. The closest thing to that is an Archon that's made of High Templars, but even that costs a little bit of minerals, but obviously we're not even Protoss here, so it doesn't matter. If you're like, okay, well now I have a layer and I want to go mutas. Well, Aspire and a Mutalisk and Aspire both have 50-50 gas to mineral costs. So it's just, and there's lots of examples like this. It's really, really, really expensive on your minerals to not only mine a lot of gas, but then also to spin that gas because then it dips in even further.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, so you got to be very careful about how you take your gas. And that game right there is a good example of when to take it.
Nice. I will start it and will practice it.
All right, man. I wish you the best of luck. And once again, happy birthday. And,
thank you, man.
I hope you have a good rest of your day, bro.
Good stuff.
All right. Take it easy, man.
Thanks a lot. You too. Have a good one.
All right, guys. That has been a coaching lesson with our boy Lordius. Shout out to his friends who actually bought him a coaching lesson for a birthday present. Much love, guys. And yeah, thank you guys for watching it. I will see you all in the next one. I hope you enjoyed it. So until then, take it easy. Good luck to you. And adios. Bye.